So our big market voice today is Nitin Rakesh, who's the CEO of Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Thanks very much, Nitin, and good to see you again. Last time when we spoke, Nitin, we were in a situation of a sense of confusion about which side the market is headed, but the kind of sudden, sharp fall we've seen in Jan, was that something, pretty much on the cards, and now that it's happened, what do you see happening next?
Good morning. I think, when we spoke last time about 2 or 3 weeks ago, clearly the markets were very nervous given a lot of the headline numbers that we were seeing on inflation, interest rates, uncertainty around FII flows and so on. And I think, the only open trigger at that point was corporate earnings. Having said that, we've seen bulk of the earnings for the last quarter. It does look like that the markets have, not reacted very positively to some of the domestic, macro issues. Starting, the last trigger was, really the last hike of RBI. So I think clearly those uncertainties to an extent have been discounted, but at the same time, I think those uncertainties aren't fully out of the picture yet. So I think from a macro point of view, we still have some challenges to face. The budget will actually be another trigger, and we need to see the direction that the government is setting. The positive thing, though, is that global markets have fairly, been stable. That is, at least from that point of view, we've not seen any major concerns coming out, and I think we seem to have had some sort of an action, that has started to happen, at least with the government in terms of either taking decisions on pending issues, most importantly things like oil subsidies, and I think one has to hope that that momentum of decision making and policy making will continue, because that's what the markets need. On the earnings front, I think we've kind of had a mixed bag. Clearly, the impact of raising input costs have hurt the earnings, and that seems to have been the biggest overhang on the market.
You said the budget could be the next trigger, Nitin. What would you like to see in this budget? Because typically, a lot of experts, I'm sure including you over the past few years, had tended to believe that the budget has become a non-event because most of the policy measures would anyway be taken. They weren't dependent on the budget itself. But this year, the sense one is getting is that there is perhaps a closer, look towards that budget to get some kind of a signal. Given the current situation, the political situation, what you really look forward to, what would you really like to hear from him in this budget?
I think one, again, without going into the specific, budget initiatives, I think directionally it's actually going to be a very important signal whether the government has the will and the currency to take forward the policy process that has been kind of stalled over the last few months. And I think that's really what even a lot of the foreign investors will look for. So at this point in time, we've had a slight derating of the country's multiple, market's multiple, and we've clearly gone down from 18, 19x FY12 to about 16, 17x, and we've seen that result in about a 10-12% decline in the prices, on stock prices. I mean, if the earnings also get impacted based on what we are seeing on the inflation front, input costs and so on and so forth, then I think we have a serious trouble of getting stuck in this downward spiral. So I think one really needs to get a sense of whether the government, specifically the finance ministry, actually has the currency and the willpower to implement important decisions that were kind of in the middle of implementation, whether it's GST or direct sales, DTC. So some of those things, those dates are out there, but we need full certainty on them. We need full certainty on some of the reform processes that were started. Disinvestment process has to carry on. Insurance reforms have still been pending. So I think it's really from a directional point of view, it's more important than specific measures.
Nitin, morning. You've spoken about these macro, factors, but that doesn't account, or does it account enough for the kind of massive intraday volatility that we are now seeing for, the last 10 days, day after day, these massive swings in a matter of minutes? What is driving that?
I think volatility is always higher on the downside in the market. So, you can, if you look at the historical, analysis, typically whenever the markets are in a strong, up move, you will almost always see a very steady environment. But when the markets start to actually go through downswings or sharp corrections is when the volatility picks up. And clearly, I think volatility is actually mean reverting faster. So we had a fairly strong, period of calm pretty much the second half of last year, at least till November. So I think really one has to say that market is still trying to struggle with things like news flows coming in, and to some extent the foreign flows, especially when they are triggered in whether it's ETF outflows or global macro traders who are actually taking directional calls. I think that adds to the volatility, and typically, as I said, that tends to come in when markets are actually going down.
Nitin, I remember when we last spoke, we were talking about the fact that last year signified, on the one hand, record inflows, and on the other hand, not as much of domestic mobilization. And now we are seeing the effect, and I think if I remember right, you even mentioned that what happens if this big chunk of money, even a small amount of it, starts going out? And that's what we've really seen. We've seen a small percentage of what has been brought in going out, and that's the kind of impact it's had on the market. Going forward, given the way the global factors look, and another development that has happened since we last spoke is this whole Tunisia, Egypt development that has happened. Going by that global issues that are there today, how do you see foreign inflows or outflows panning out?
Again, I think what's happened is two things. One, there's been a re-rating of all emerging markets, not just India. And I think that's probably been because of the rebalancing that a lot of the global investors have done in favor of emerging developed markets at the cost of emerging markets. Specifically, I think starting with markets like the US and Germany. So I think part of that rebalancing activity is what we are seeing right now. And this is not a call on the fact that India story is no longer valid. I think it's really that migratory over-allocation that happened to us last year, and no surprise that India was the best performing emerging market last year with 18% returns. So I think it's a little bit of that rebalancing that's taking place into effect right now. The Egypt or the Middle Eastern problem really is, at least to our mind, will actually become significant if it carries on and boils over to other markets. Obviously, it's not something that specifically had an impact on India. But I think with our market, it's really a question of improvement in some of these macro headline numbers and the sentiment more than the bottom-up story. And I think that's really, as I said, has led to some de-rating of the multiple in itself.
Nitin, picking up on this point about FIIs, just how much though should a domestic retail investor take cue from what the FII is doing? I mean, they are re-rating their or rebalancing their portfolio, which is fair, that's fine. But should a retail investor necessarily take his cue from what the FII is doing, which is perhaps what is also causing a lot of this volatility?
You know what? In my view, I think retail investors are best, left if they decide to take their own decisions rather than focus on what FIIs are doing. Because I think in the end, markets really will discount every bit of flows, whether it's news flow or fund flow. So I think from a retail investor point of view, my advice will be to stay focused on your portfolios, on building out portfolios, especially in times of these, market panics. I mean, there are multiple stocks that are available right now at fairly attractive valuations. The banking sector, select auto names, the consumer names have actually also started to take a big knock. It's not that the consumption story is not going to be around. I think so. It really is a question of cutting the noise out and focusing on using this as an opportunity to continue to build portfolios. What seemed very good, 3 months ago, actually should seem better now, given that we've seen a fairly significant correction of 25-30% in a lot of those frontline names themselves. So I think our advice to investors really is that use this as an opportunity to build long-term portfolios. Wherever you don't have the right stock ideas available, use the availability of indexes to take exposure, whether it's in the mid-cap space or it's in the large-cap space, or if it's in the sector space as well.
Okay. You mentioned those consumer-driven stocks, which is perhaps a wee bit contrary to what some people have said about how, there's been enough of a return earned already last year on that FMCG pack. Would you actually still buy, even if it is selectively within that pack? We've seen earnings as well from them and the tremendous cost pressures that have, pushed down their margins and profits. Would you still see some growth prospects?
I think, you have to be fairly selective in the kind of names you buy. And I think our focus will be to buy names that have a very, very strong brand pull and kind of a market leading position. So I think the big worry has been on the FMCG side is that the expansion of input costs will either put pressure on margins or put pressure on demand because of increase in prices. So I think the focus is to find those names where the issue of down trading doesn't exist, and the brands in themselves are pretty much market leaders, or there is an alternative to those brands. So I think it's a question of finding those names which don't have to worry about consumers down trading because of increase in prices, and those brands will then be able to hold their margins. And I think you can find at least 3 or 4 such names out there.
Nitin, have your fund managers pulled out of a few sectors and moved into others in the last 1 month?
I think we've kind of focused our energies back on where we think 2011 will give us opportunities. So we started to look at, as I said, relook at banking because of the opportunity that it's given. I think there's more in the price than it's warranted, purely because of the concerns on margin pressures. Clearly, I think there are some liquidity issues out there as well. Similarly, we've started to relook at some of the auto names that seemed expensive about 3 months ago. We are not so convinced about the real estate and the infra pack. Maybe capital goods is a different story, but I think other than that, we haven't really changed our stance a lot, except kind of focus down on the valuation aspect.
About telecom, Nitin?
I think telecom, at least the frontline telecom names, seem to be a good place to be in. I mean, we've clearly seen that they haven't really fallen as much as the rest of the market has. And based on what numbers we saw this morning as well, it does look like that the demand is holding up. The issue really is, how do we go from here to 3G and growth? But I think we are saying, our view is that the frontline telecom names are actually good places to be in.
Okay, so you'll pick up selectively within telecom, within banking, within FMCG. When do you see a recovery that will take the markets, along with it? The general sentiment once again here is the second half of this year. Would you agree with that?
I think that's the consensus that's building up, and typically it's very hard for me to agree to any consensus. So I think markets will again surprise us. Definitely, as I said, we need to do a lot more work to repair the damages that have been done over the last a few weeks. But I definitely think that we are getting into a range where things start to look interesting from a valuation point of view. But again, valuations can expand or contract pretty rapidly before they revert to mean. So I think markets will definitely surprise us again. While everyone's looking at the second half of calendar year 2011. I think from our point of view, we are really looking at it from the immediate triggers and focusing on companies per se, rather than focusing on the overall market movement, because that's very hard to predict.
Nitin, one last question. We talked about the macros, the inflation, the headline numbers. What about crude? You did mention that the developments in the Middle East don't have a direct bearing as of now, but they seem to have had a bearing on crude, and our markets always tend to take that very seriously. It's over $100 now. How would you view that as a concern going forward?
It's clearly a concern on every front. At least in the short run, people are assuming that this probably will correct once the Middle Eastern situation stabilizes. But if it doesn't, and if it keeps going back up, to much higher levels, then obviously we have an issue in terms of the subsidies and what happens to those. How do they get accounted for? Clearly, that will have an impact on inflation, because a part of that will actually get passed on to the consumers for sure. Obviously, that will put pressure on the refining companies as well as oil marketing companies. So I think it's for at least the oil and gas sector, it's a no-win situation. Whether crude goes, if the higher it goes, the more pressure it puts on the overall picture. And so it does on the overall macro picture as well. And I think that's really one of the reasons why, at a macro front, there will still be uncertainty.